positive stories about this is that there are a number of people, such as all of you here today, but also especially in the Northwest region and our tribal communities, fully recognizing the threat this poses not only to the sea life but to a way of life. And one of the leaders in that is Micah McCarty, chairman of the Micah Tribal Council, who has been a pioneer on issues of ocean acidification, particularly as they affect native lands and peoples. And Micah, thank you so much for your leadership and for joining us. Please join us up here. Please give us a round.
Thank you, Brian. And thanks everyone here for paying attention and being here. It's a distinguished honor to have worked alongside on some issues with, I think, one of the most important men on our planet, Norm Dix. And I say that where my mom comes from. Yeah. So, you know, the reason why I say that is not only is Norm in a position in one of the most powerful governments on the planet, but his heart's in the right place, and he knows and he cares about the environment. So he's even more important to us than most people around the country and the world would understand and appreciate. But without elaborating too much more on that, I also want to say that Nia Bay is his favorite fishing port. And Nia Bay is you know, a place where my father came from. Nia Bay is a place where one of the only places in the world you can get these kind of olive shells. One of the only places left on the planet, or one of the only places where this really naturally occurs. And to put another human element into this, the shellfish growers, you know, are seeing a lifestyle at risk. People that still depend on the natural world, you know, their lifestyle and their identities at risk. I think you can preserve your identity in ways that we've had to adapt over all the pressures that our people have suffered from people that really understand and really didn't know or care. But what I think we have to offer is an added value to the consciousness of an effort of people to come together and really do something about this. And I say this in another global sense of things, that there's a symbiotic relationship between cultural and biological diversity. How many people enjoy exotic food and exotic fashions and art? I mean, raise your hand if you really like to go to a different place. Well, you know, that's a testament to the value of human heritage and its diversity on this planet. The other side of it, though, is that there's traditional ecological knowledge that's possessed within those cultures and those peoples. It's as if the natural world that our cultures have grown from is the habitat of our culture, that we are a manifestation of the natural world. And it's kind of hard for some people that grow up in a concrete jungle. They grow up in all these other places where it's a man-made reality. And so sometimes people can have a different perspective on what they think is left of the natural world. Well, there's still a lot of people who live in much more in harmony with the natural world than a lot of people would come to understand. And in the National Ocean Policy discussion, in the executive order, there is an effort to harmonize the existing laws and regulations that currently govern ocean use. Harmonizing means that there isn't harmony. And as we have all these different perspectives and the diversity of knowledge and schools of thought, I found it hard growing up in Olympia, Washington, as a Native American half-breed, with my dad being a full-blooded Micah from one of the oldest civilizations still alive on Earth, and the mother who came from Portland, Maine, Tories, to the American Revolution. And in today's irony of some of these things, well, you think about the original Tea Party, they were the original Indian imposters. You had a bunch of rich colonists that didn't want to pay a luxury tax to the king. And so what did they do? Some of them went and consulted the Iroquois Confederacy on Argos Confederation. The Iroquois Confederacy told them that all things are created equal. They wrote down all men are created equal. And I'm not going to go on all of those, but what they really meant was all white men that owned land were created equal and only they could vote. And what did women do about that? Well, women decided they needed to vote too. What did Harriet Tubman do when she was running up the Underground Railroad back up to by where my mom grew up? Well, she was in a position where she thought she was caught. And most people knew that slaves were not allowed to read. Why? Why would a slave be not allowed to read? Great thought. Figure out how to escape, whatever. Well, she picked up a book, and it might have been upside down, but she was pretending to read because she knew she was being looked at. So then when I think about all the way back over where my dad grew up, his parents went to boarding schools. His great-grandfather witnessed genocide of his people. And then not only the survivors of the Holocaust, they lived to witness the wholesale kidnapping of their people, their kids. Lots of atrocities, a lot of other things. But what I think is a parallel to what Harriet Tubman went through is that those boarding schools, they taught our people to be blacksmiths, seamstress, all these other things that would keep us where they wanted to keep us. Not attorneys, not doctors, not biologists, not all these other things that we're hiring people today now for. And so, when we come back to the National Ocean Policy and the National Ocean Council and the harmonization and all these diverging perspectives, a lot of the tribes that have really held on to their past, held on to their identity, have held on to lessons learned through generations and have a lot of value to bring to the table for solutions. And coming through all of the challenges that we have and persevering and getting to the point where we're not only shedding the victim role, but we're providing, I think, positive solutions and brokering bridges and pulling things together, because if you don't work across aisles, if you don't work across cultural divisions, we're not going to get our paddles in sync on what we need to do. And we have a lot of different things going on in Neah Bay. It's been widely recognized by a lot of really smart scientists that Neah Bay is perched on Cape Flattery, which is right next to one of the 5 most dynamic marine ecologies on the planet. It's a big reason why our culture has been enriched with so much natural and diverse abundance that I can still say that I'm a part of a culture that is probably older than a lot of civilizations that have come and gone. The living breath of our ancestors is still alive. And to persevere through all these challenges, I think, is a testament to adaptability. And one of the most powerful examples I can think of in the natural world of adaptability is what happened right after Pearl Harbor. That there was an effort on behalf of some of the most brilliant thinkers and innovators of our industrial culture, turned our industrial power into one of the most powerful war machines on the planet to win World War II. And I use this example in a manner that we are sitting on a crisis. Ocean acidification is one huge indicator. Global warming and all those other things are happening. We're seeing shifting biota. Couldn't believe all the pterodactyl-like birds I saw, and the Humboldt squid off of Tatoosh Island a few years ago. But we're in a time crisis where we do need to come together. We do need to pull it together, and we need to assist the President in this ocean policy to bring these solutions to the table. and not only bring them to the table, but make them work and make them happen. Bust the bottleneck on the energy paradigm shift that we have to do. And if there's an evil axis in this World War II scenario in big oil, how do we make them winners too? And that's, I think, is going to be the challenge. Because in all the other areas I've seen, is when you take a real hostile and confrontational approach, you harden the resistance, and you don't achieve your goals. So it's trying to find common ground. And that's what we have to do to save our planet and our ocean. Thank you.